How are you guys doing?
Blessings. Good day.
It's so nice to be sitting here with you. Loughlin Tatem, you were my former teacher. so it's interesting to now be in my seat and have you sitting there. But it's still a blessing and a pleasure to be here with you. And Ras Sankofa.
Yeah, give thanks.
Yes, Maccabee. It's a pleasure to meet you. So we're going to be jumping right into this topic of religion, something that is so personal to everyone, and something that still seems to create such debates, such divide, and still it can create such peace in so many people's lives. When it comes to religion and the society that we live in, where do you stand regarding the nature of conformity and just the divide that it's been creating within our current society?
Well, conformity in respect to what? Because you can conform in many different ways, but you're talking in respect to religion?
Yes.
Because religion has set of rules and regulations that created by man. That was to help us to go spirituality, but as in a speech there, it's become political, divisive, and sometimes used as a tool for power struggle. So the reality in true religion there is not really conformity in the sense of human aspect of conformity. It's the way that you view your creator, the way you view the Most High, how you live with other persons. So the reality is that when you have true religion, which is basically come from the form of spiritual in nature, the only conformity you would really have is within the ways of the Most High as you believe them to be. So to you it's not you really conforming, it's just more like obedience. Religion in the aspect of, person private belief system or what's not, sometimes they conform to the rules and regulation of the limited group that they're within.
Based on the structures that are set in place.
Yeah, but as I say, spirituality, true spirituality, the only conformity is basically accepting and believing and actually being obedient to your creator.
I like that.
That's how we do it.
From my perspective, religion is a need. The need for religion is one that man has. We are beings that hate gaps. We don't like unanswered questions. And these are the questions are multiple, a multiplicity of questions that the human being needs an answer for. We get satisfaction out of knowing that when people do wrong, they're going to be punished. We want guidance. We want commandments, whether they are 10 or 25, because this is the way we measure our sense of right and wrong. So whether there is an actual God or not, man is going to provide himself some source of authority by which he can console himself. So I'm not saying, I would never tell anybody that there is no God or anything of that nature. What I'm saying is, whether there is a God or not, man is going to find some supernatural source somewhere that is going to provide him the level of comfort and satisfaction on the unanswered questions that are going to pacify him.
We need religion for so many different things still, but yet it's higher than religion. It's because, like I said earlier, religion can limit you being in groups and stuff like that, and certain things that they might put mightn't be the true way, or maybe the true way for you, or the true way that Father wanted us to be. So sometimes you might feel like you're going the right way. But when you're under a spiritual realm and you have a connection to the Most High, to each other, and to the things that the Father himself create, which is nature, then you really wouldn't go wrong, because you're going to serve Father to help the majority of humanity, you know? So, and what the cause that you do something gonna be for a good cause, because you have something to give you a level of standard where you have morality, you know? So because of religion, things are good, but in religion, you still could be limited. So we say that we're more spiritual beings and we have more spiritual life. And we live to try to, not just for ourselves, but the true purpose is to serve the Most High and serve each other.
I find that a lot of people now are steering more towards saying that they are spiritual. When you ask people, are you religious? There are persons who simply feel more comfortable saying they are spiritual and not religious. Where do you think that's coming from?
Like if I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, for example, a Rasta that holds sabbatical, like I might be facing a situation where it's Sabbath, but then somebody could be screaming and they need me to attend to them immediately. Similar to a story in the Bible where they had the Good Samaritan, you know? They left the man there on the road and they didn't serve the man to try help him in his illness based on the fact that one of them had to go to the temple to give praises unto the Most High. And then another one had to go somewhere and he just pretty much, neglect the virgin ceremony still. And he went to do whatever he had to do. He thought that was more important. And then you had the Samaritan, which was a people who wasn't even so religious. This man attended to the man and gave him the healing that he wanted, even if it was in just a physical sense, because of the love that he had for him. Now, who's the one is spiritual in nature there? It would have to be him, the same one who would have looked down based on his religion, based on the way that they walk. But the priest, the one who went in the temple, was a high priest, but he left the man there suffering. No, you can't use rules and regulations when there's an opportunity to do something right in the name of the Almighty. You have to do what is right first. And that's where spirituality becomes a higher level than religion.
So it's a deeper, more innate connection, that feeling of just right or wrong that we're all born with.
Well, concerning the matter of spirituality, I think also, in relation to what I was saying earlier, I think that there is this void in man. We seem to have this empty space which we need filled. We are a creature that requires answers. We find that we cannot turn to our fellow man or a fellow human being for the deep consoling need, the need for consolation that we have. And so there are people who all over the world who don't believe in any God.
Mm-hmm. There are people who simply believe in the universe.
There are people who believe in evolution,
mm-hmm.
who will tell you there is no God anywhere, and that we better find our way. Right? But I happen to love the Bible very, very much. I think it's a fantastic book. I think the stories are stunningly meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then because we're a Christian nation, our people, Christianity was brought to us, and it has provided a source of answers for us. Okay. No matter what, if you're committing a crime and you get away with it, one day God is going to judge you, and that makes us.
Yes, there's a sense of accountability to look forward to.
It makes us comfortable. There are some people who don't adhere to the concept of spirituality at all. They believe we are flesh and blood, and when we die, that's the end of it. We are not coming back. Nobody's coming out of the sky to rescue us. There's going to be no rapture or anything. There are people who live like that. And there are millions of people in the world who live like that. But I don't find any fault with somebody who is seeking a source of consolation. Whatever that source of consolation is, I don't care. If it's going to make you feel good,
and if it's going to make you a better person.
If it's going to make you a better person, if it's going to give you a sense of hope, if it's not going to make you go out there and if it makes you feel guilty for doing wrong, I am with you. right? And I'm not going to tell you that your doctrine is wrong, you're going to hell. Or if you don't believe like me, you're tarnished with evil and things of that nature. I accept that human beings have voids that require responses, require answer, require some source of solace.
When we come back, we're going to touch on what that human connection really is and that human aspect of this really is. So it's safe to say that personal beliefs can be shaped by social constructs. But what if we were to remove religion? And by that, I'm saying the faiths that we identify ourselves by when it comes to being religious. You mentioned it earlier, how we treat each other. How would we treat each other if we did not have these guidelines?
Well, it's going to be hard to go back to that. So I understand the type of question that you're asking is like we have to kind of basically imagine the situation because we are already in the state where we're at. You know, if we didn't have religion in this time, it still will be more chaotic. The reason why I say that is because everybody is not on the same plane. And one good thing about religion is that it offers a level of morality. Basically, you know, there's a general, when you look at all the religion, for example, the 5 great religion, they would have to say, when you're looking at the majority in people, you have Buddha, you have those who deal with Allah, which is Muslim, then you have Christians, you also have those who are Israelites, well, they say Israeli, those are not the true Jews, so I wouldn't even count that, but those who are Hebrew Israelites, you know, and these are the religions that you have, and all of them have a similar moral code. Within the commandments, them is very similar. A lot of the information, if you get to translate the Muslim Bible, the Quran, is very similar. Even they talk about the Messiah in the Muslim Quran, but they don't call him the Messiah. They just say him as the greater prophet, a greater prophet. So you see that they have a similar moral code, and because of religion, that moral code is very strong, you know, and that's the good aspect of it. If you don't have religion now, there might be a lot of immorality, and then you could end up living in a life where people dying on a regular basis. People actually, you know, not following certain orders, so they might do things to themselves and to others that are not the way of the Most High, you know, and you would find that will break down society as well too. So I think in general, religion is good for that purpose, but because sometimes it puts you to be stringent in certain and certain belief that might not be so relevant to Father, like I explained earlier with the Good Samaritan and the sabbatical. Sometimes that aspect of religion, when you use religion to do things that quote unquote is supposed to be good for the Most High, but yet is destructive for the cause and for the people. When you use it in that way, it is no good, because it's like the ultimate cause for us is to really serve the Most High. And what religion tries to do is put our spirituality into a form of rules and regulations, which in a sense sometimes is a conformity within a particular country, but then to the individual is really conforming to the Most High. So this is good, and it has this aspect of it that would limit you to a certain group and certain belief system.
If we all share some aspects of spirituality, the argument then can be made that human beings are inherently good and maybe left up to our own devices without religion, we would still be able to reach to a state of enlightenment just on life's journey itself. There are people who will tell you they're not religious, but they're very kind, they're very compassionate, and they have all of these very positive traits. So The argument that whether religion is really that thing that makes people good or more moral, can we really stand on that? Or is it just a human nature and a personal choice within that individual human's nature?
You know, the Beatles sang a song, I think it was in the 70s, late 60s. Imagine there's no religion. It's easy if you try. And what they're saying there is that religion has created more chaos, more pain, more misery than practically anything else on the planet.
Wars started by religion or for religion. Is that really the case, or is religion being used, or the name of religion simply being used to start some
There are
of these
people who will
wars?
kill you because you don't believe like them. There are people who stone you to death and feel justified in doing so because you are of a different religion. And it's not only one religion that has done that. Practically all the religions that we are aware of have isolated people, have thought less of people, and have treated people as less than the people who follow their faith or their religion. Now, I don't blame religion for that. I blame the psychological makeup of human nature, because I believe that everything on earth, whether it's intellectual or tangible, is useful. Okay? But human beings, and the Bible does tell us how human beings became the debaucherous creatures that we are. It says that a man was in a garden and he picked a fruit and so on and all those things, and that was a symbol of rebelliousness. So it seems to me then that the Bible is saying that man has this innate rebelliousness within himself. So personally, from my perspective, I believe religion can be used for good, and it has been used for good. But like everything else that's human, it is also a very bloody thing.
It can also be abused.
Just like everything else. So I wouldn't knock it. I wouldn't, but we have to face the reality. And there may be people listening to me right now and saying, "Oh, whatever, he's anti-religion." Let me tell you something. There are good men out there and good women who love each other, but would not marry each other and raise decent families because the religion says no.
Yes, or they're of different faiths.
Again, I don't want to put the blame on religion itself, because man is the instigator of these type of things. The way we are made, the way our brains function is what causes these things. Human nature is ragged and corrupt. Whatever he touches, he's going to corrupt it. And religion has been touched by man.
We talk about the divide, but it's also been a form of unification for some people as well. It has also been a source of healing for some people. And it goes back to what you said earlier, that void and that need for something greater to make us feel purposeful.
And I think we need to do something about it. I don't know how we're going to get it done, but this divisiveness, that exists even here in this country, right? There are people who believe that, oh, my doctrine is better than yours. My teaching is better than yours. Your interpretation of the Bible is wrong. And because your interpretation of the Bible is wrong, I mean, you're going to burn up in a place forever and ever. Amen. And as long as you believe that somebody is not to be regarded seriously with love and care and compassion, that something is happening to him because he's not following the right religion and so on, or he doesn't believe like me, and whatever happens to him, he deserves.
Yes. I definitely see a problem with that. But on the flip side, I also see a problem in people thinking that because someone says they're religious, then that makes them devoid of sin. You're a Christian, so you can't possibly do anything wrong after that, after you've proclaimed that. And I think that creates a very unsafe landscape. But we're going to talk about religion and go back a little bit deeper into where did this all even come from? to begin with. Now, I've heard the argument many times that especially as Black people, that we have become the punchline, the biggest punchline for our own joke when it comes to slavery and colonialism, because we are the biggest Bible thumpers within society, and yet it is that same Bible that was once used to enslave us. And I want to know from the two of you, where do you feel the placement of religion as it stands now? Where did that originate from? And is it really ours? And should we really be gravitating so much toward a religion that was, as Mr. Tatem mentioned earlier, that was brought to us?
Yeah, the reality of the situation, sister, is there's two concepts of interpretation of the Christianity. Because most of us will think that Christianity is a white God and the nature of Christ is more of a Eurocentric atmosphere or whatever, but the reality is not like that. There's an Eastern form of Christianity that was there even before the Romans started to accept the Messiah. The Messiah, according to the Bible, came in Israel. And within that time he came in Israel, is at the age 33 is when he started to, when he actually died, and then he came forward again to his disciples. So the story in the Bible is black. Ham, Shem, Japheth is black. Noah, black. Moses, Aaron, and most of the high priests in the ancients, they carry natty dread and they carry their beards. In fact, it's written in the Bible that you're not supposed to mar as a high priest, or a man who into a priestly order. Don't mar your beards. Even when you take out a Nazarite vow, don't mar your beards. Historically, all the ancient prophets were persons who never mar their beards, and some of them carry their locks. Solomon, David, all the ancients, them. If you read the Bible, because most of us just go to a church, but we don't read the Bible, you'll know that all of them carry their locks.
Even in the Quran, it's why Muslim men take pride in their beards.
Exactly, and there's a period of time where the man will actually take off their locks. They still will keep their beard, because they can't ever cut their beards, but take off their locks, and then they go, when they finish the Nazarene vow, they will do that there. So historically, everything that's in the Bible is black. But it's only from slavery time when they try to reintroduce us to the Bible, you know. After slavery, you could say, during that time when they tried to reintroduce us, because Ethiopia had a history of holding on to the Christian faith way before Rome hold it, from since biblically when the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized. You see it? By the apostle, I think it was Philip. Philip baptized the Ethiopian eunuch. Ethiopia was the first nation to receive Christianity. Way before, in fact, when the Messiah was a little youth, he went into Ethiopia. When he went to Egypt to run away from the Caesar, he actually reached Ethiopia, and he spent a good time in Ethiopia in a monastery. And most of us wouldn't know that history there is in Ethiopian history though. Deborah Libanos is where the Messiah came. But then Christianity will never teach these aspects of Christianity, the Western Christianity. But when you talk about the Oriental churches, the 7 churches that is written in the Bible, they speak of all these things in their churches, in their country where they go. Because I was in Deborah, Lebanon, and that's how I get to understand that Christ himself chat to Ethiopia, was in Ethiopia. All the high-powered men, them, when you check the history of the Bible, they went to Ethiopia to gain that strength. Even when Moses ended up killing the Hebrew and he had to leave from Egypt and go into the hills. He's in the hills of Ethiopia. And when he went there, he actually reigned in Ethiopia for 40 years.
So why is this symbolism of this blonde-haired white man with blue eyes still so prevalent within our society here where Christianity is concerned?
Because as you said earlier, this is what they use to try to get us to feel like we're less than them. This is what they used to try to put us in bondage. Because remember, we was bondage before in Egypt, having to work hard for basically next to nothing, and we had to find our own way, and we had to end up go and live in Canaan. The same people who was enslaving these people, these ancient Egyptians and Ethiopians is Africans, is the same race of people. That's why Christ could have gone there to hide. If he was a white man, he could have never go to Egypt to hide, because at that time Egypt was fully black. When there was a lot of black people in Egypt, because Alexander came to invade Egypt and they took over Egypt. This was 323 BC. This was before Christ. But then after Alexander took out all the information from Egypt, and that's how all these other religions were born. It's really from information that these men went, and then they changed up the belief, and they tried to actually kill out the Africans, especially in North Africa, and replace them by taking out the male and impregnating the woman and making them a lighter nation, because they know they had a conspiracy that they was planning for the future. So when the Messiah came now in real life, they tried to kill him. They've been trying to kill him from since he was small. They were trying to kill him when he was a teenager, and they was trying to kill him they killed him as an adult. So you could see that, and the persons who killed him was who? The Romans. And then they took that same form of Christianity that we spread around the world first. The Ethiopians had a form of Christianity before the Romans. And there was other nations in Israel, there was a form of Christianity before the Romans as well too. But then they took it to the West, and from they took it to the West, the Romans took it to the West, because at the time of Christ's death, the Romans had already invaded. First it was the Greeks, and then the Romans had invaded Israel. So basically what happened there now is the Romans changed everything. They hold on to certain teachings, but they change the skin color of the Messiah. They tell you that you have to proselytize somebody to get them anti-religion. So they started to kill in the name of the Messiah, even though the Father didn't give those declarations, but they started to corrupt the religion. And then now we stuck with two religions within the same religion.
But I want Mr. Tatem to be able to chime in here, because that's a heavy debate. And I've met Africans, and I've been to Africa, and I've heard Africans say this is not the religion of our ancestors. This was brought to us. There are scholars who will also speak to the fact that many of these stories are simply fables, because there are so many Greek mythological stories that have the same context, very similar in nature. The deaths and when they occur, the rising of these people, the celebration of December 25th, Zeus and all of these other gods that mythologically were worshipped and praised. And these stories all came pre-Christ. So if these stories existed and the times and the details are so similar, it does leave one to go, have these simply been restructured and recreated stories? And if so, by whom? So I do want you to chime in here, Mr. Tatem.
Well, let me just begin by saying this humbly. I am a lover of the Bible. I like books.
Mm-hmm.
And I find these stories in the Bible.
We share that in common.
And what I find fascinating, and it goes throughout the Bible, is the depth of the imagination that is in it.
Mm.
Wherever it comes from, whether it's God or Zeus or whoever came from, the depth of the imagination is beyond measurable. Where the Bible says the Creator made a woman out of a bone. That to me is fascinating. And the Red Sea parting and all the other things that are just beyond the normal level of thinking.
Yes.
It's a stunningly fascinating book. And I will never, in any sense say anything that would diminish its importance, its value, the value of its teaching, the character, the person, Jesus Christ in it was a fascinating person. Amazing. And so I find it very, very stunning. What I have a problem with is the division There is so much in the Bible about unity and togetherness and oneness and human race being, humanity being one and all those things. But somehow the nature of man emerges. And then we have all these divisions. And because anytime you get divisions, you're going to have murder. Justifiable murder. So I don't know how we're going to get out of this country, this situation, this whirlpool that we are in. Because we are tied up in it. And the reason we are tied up in it is because it has eternal consequences. We are told that if you don't adhere to this rule or this law, you're going to be punished forever.
Do you think that that mindset could possibly be tied to colonialism and slavery? And if so, I want you to touch on that when we come back.
Okay. You're asking where did all this, what come from?
Yes, some would say that this was not the religion of our forefathers, our ancestors, and that as African descendants, then how could this be our true religion?
Well, I know that our faith, what we have as our faith, the Christian faith, was imposed upon us by people who had come from somewhere else. You know, it started with the Catholic movement and all that is involved in. And then we had the Protestant the Reformation. And out of the Reformation came these other splits. And the religions in the world are multiple. And it all boils down to, you know, look, I believe that even if there wasn't a Bible, we would have found some way or another to express some sense of helplessness within ourselves. And I think we would have been automatically looking to, I think if we did not have a concept of God, we would have created one. Okay? We are a creature that we need answers. We need solutions to problems. We need our pacifiers. Okay? And whether it's Rastafari, Hindu, Muslim, whatever, we are going to seek those out. We in this part of the world happen to have had people who believed in the Bible bring their Bible to us. And they beat their religion into us. Okay? The slaves who were brought here, they were not Christians for the most part. Most of them are Muslims. Okay? And that's a historical fact.
There's clearly a place for religion within our society, as it does create somewhat of a moral guideline for many people. But where I have an issue is for those people who do not look to religion to create that guide for them, to be that source of enlightenment, so to speak, for them. Why are those people looked down on?
Well, they will tell you the person is going to hell.
That's where I have a slight issue.
He's going to burn forever.
Isn't humanity an aspect or an attribute that one should have to actually ultimately be truly religious? Your sense of humanity, compassion, empathy, forgiveness. Then can you truly consider yourself really spiritual or religious?
Well, that's the whole concept, because it's like what's happening right now is that there's a counterfeit. They're not really living the Christian life, because you have to actually not just say that you're Christian, you have to actually live the way of life. So I can't go and say Christianity in itself is wrong. Maybe it's the terminology that we use in calling it Christianity, because the Messiah name wasn't Jesus Christ. It was Yahshua HaMashiach, as some other persons say, according to the angel, it was Emmanuel. You know, so we got to understand that there's a lot of other dynamics playing out here. It's not just as simple as, you have to understand that some religion was brought to confuse other religion to make us not to be religious
not
or
to believe
spiritual.
in anything at all.
Yes, exactly. and then they use that to fight against us, and then they bring things counter to the nature of what was taught in that way of life previously before they came. So I understand that there was a counterfeit with the Romans, even from the time of Constantine, there was that counterfeit, because even though he wanted to change his country to a so-called Christian nation, he still wanted to keep up all the holidays that was relating to the pagan Greek god.
Yes.
You know, Zeus.
I understand.
So that's why you had December 25th and all these things.
I think each of us, as individuals, need to come to a place in our lives where we decide where we are going to find our peace,
Yes.
where we are going to find our source of solace. If you decide that you're going to be a Christian and that's where you're going to find your sense of restfulness, I'm with you. As long as you're not harming anybody, as long as you're not killing anybody, as long as you're not going around hating people, as far as I'm concerned, I accept you and your faith for what it is doing for you.
Yes, I agree, because the conversation here is not that any one religion or religion at all is bad. It's that it's how we use it, it's how we're utilizing that. If that is meant to create some moral guideline, to create a compass that draws us to a place of self-betterment, enlightenment, then it seems as though we've veered very far off from that path. Because it really, like Mr. Tatem said, it should be about acceptance and tolerance, because we are not all the same. And we all clearly have different views when it comes to religion. And so instead of the division and the hate mongering and the warmongering, why not simply, to you be yours and to me be mine? What do we need to do to get to that place of simply accepting that each and every one of us has that right to choose what it is that is going to make us the best version of ourselves? Because ultimately, I think that we will, I can't speak for everyone, but I believe, or I would hope to believe, that ultimately there will be a time when each person will have to stand in account for themselves. There is no intercessors for anyone.
Stand account.
Well, my personal belief, at least, that at some point, and it's like you said earlier, it's just that thing that you want to hold on to, because I just don't want to believe that I live in a society where people can be doing all of these things and they will never have to be held accountable for that. So it gives me some sense of peace.
Justifiably, because you're a human
being. It gives me some
being.
sense of peace, because in my mind, I want to rationalize that you will have to answer for those things, as I will have to answer for mine. So why can't we all simply accept that we are not the ultimate judges of each other, or the ultimate, judge and jury of each other?
Because everything comes with a history. You asked earlier you speak of all there's different forms of religion. You had those persons in Egypt, they believed in Isis or Horus and thing. I cut up in 14 people. When you read the story still is a little preponderous still to reality. And if you want to accept that way of life, is you. But it doesn't come from the source of the story, and the story itself is a little weird to me, because it's like the man was cut up in 14 pieces, then they went and they picked him up and then they put him in different areas, then the mother had to go back for his son, and then it's a lot of, it could be allegorical too, just like they say that the Bible is allegorical. I have to go with the history of my king. His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, he believed in the Messiah. He tells us to follow the Messiah. We follow him because we also understand he's like a Messiah to I and I. He represents God to us on earth. From the ancient, even the story with Horus them spoke of basically a resurrection of the Osiris. You see it? But all these histories there, but the reality, which one you're going to follow? You're going to follow the one that, no, you can't even find a bloodline for them? No. So then you're going to see that it might have been allegorical. But with his majesty and with the Messiah, you have a bloodline. And His Majesty come and reveal that bloodline unto I and I, the 225th from David. And the reality that we have to accept here too, you know, Queen of Sheba was the richest woman at a certain point in life on earth. And she controlled the most borders on earth, meaning the most land. That was a woman queen. You see it? And Ethiopia history had it that the woman then would rule during a certain time. First, they had a king Ori, and then after, couple times after him, now the woman them start to rule, and they had a time where it's just woman queen rule in Ethiopia. But when she went and she saw the glory of Solomon, the story is in the Bible, but they cut it off. Ethiopia have the full story over by where they live. And it shows you that she decided to give up her Ra, sun god worship, and the animism, what they call animism, to follow this way of life. And it's from that time we follow this way of life in Ethiopia. So that if she did that there, why are we going to go back to the whole sun worshiping? Understanding that spirituality, still there's a connection between the sun, the moon, the stars, astrology and all these things. There's a reality. That's nature, that's earth, that it takes for the plant, the moon and the stars work together. Everything Father do, like I was trying to say earlier, in trees.
Yeah.
You see, He gives us the moon, the star, and the sun.
There's so much that so much more that could be covered when it comes to the topic of religion. And I wish we had more time to go into everything.
I really wish we had one more time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And there's a lot more that we could say on the topic of religion, because it's so broad. But at the end of the day, I think we've all established here that ultimately how we treat each other, that is what matters most. And whatever assists you in getting to that place of humanity and being the best version of yourself and being a good human being altogether, then that is what ultimately matters. That's what counts. So thank you so much for being here. And I would love to have you back.
Thank you very much. There's
You're
many
welcome.
things to discuss on this topic. Haile Selassie I speaks on spirituality. Greetings in the name of the Almighty Father, His Son, Yahshua Emmanuel, the Messiah, and Emperor Haile Selassie I. It says, the temple of the Most High begins with the human body, which houses our life, the essence of our existence. Africans are in bondage today because they oppose spirituality through religion provided by foreign invaders and conquerors. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which was supposed to help us to grow spiritually. But due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It's simply a way of life, pure and original as was given by the Most High of creation. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other as the essence of our existence. It embodies our culture, true identity, nationhood, and destiny. A people without a nation that they can really call their own is a people without a soul. Africa is our nation and is in spiritual and physical bondage because her leaders are turning to outside forces for solutions to African problems. When everything Africa needs is within her. When African righteous people come together, the world will come together. And this is our divine destiny. Words of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, Kadamawi. Give thanks.